This is BBC News. I'm Ben J. Facial. The Indus River has played an important role throughout the history, and thousands are dependent on it today. The Indus River runs mostly through Pakistan, through some trenches into northern India, and the Indus River's source is in Tibet. The Indus River empties into Arabian Sea. The Indus River is primarily fed by springs and glaciers, which are located in the tallest mountain range in the world, the Himalayas. Its highest fluctuation greatly with the seasons, flooding in banks during monsoon season. The Indus River passes through forests, arid regions, and plains. Now let's go back in time and see how important the Indus River was to its civilization.
Hello, I'm Noah O'Brien. This is our report on the Indus River. The Indus River civilization was an urbanized civilization. It consisted of two major cities that served as the civilization's capitals. They were Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, and were surrounded by other small towns and villages. The cities had crisscrossing avenues, uniform houses, and large temples. For their political system, they had a caste system with four main social classes. When people were born into a social class, they could never change it for as long as they lived. The social class breakdown was the Brahmins, priests, and the king, the Kshatriyas, warriors and aristocrats, the Vaishyas, cultivators, artisans, and merchants, and the Shudras, peasants and serfs. The Harappan people also had an organized belief system. The gods were heavily focused on fertility. They were male horned gods and female mother goddesses. We interviewed a person who was directly affected by the Indus River today and how the river is part of his life.
What?
Hello, sir. What is your name?
Nahad Nasir Javid.
He said, my name is Fahad Nasir Javid.
Javid. Yeah.
Okay, Fahad, I understand you use the Indus River for many things, right?
He said, yes, correct. Very good.
So how has the Indus River had an impact in your life?
Krapdi, ime about Lamborghini, ada from Chi and whatever. And by last Kurma, ada as a boy for him.
Okay. He said, the government is making these laws that say no dumping, no swimming, and even no fishing. Now it protects us, he says, he knows. But if he doesn't fish, he doesn't eat. Another thing is people wouldn't even be here if it wasn't for the river. Now that's fine, he says, don't get me wrong. It gives our river economic support. It allows the agricultural businesses to thrive. It's how we make a living. He says, however, the constant flooding is definitely putting a dent in the population now. He says his dear friend Wahid just died in one just last month.
Wahid!
I see you make some valid points while on this Wahid.
He said, the Indus River is very important to its inhabitants. They use it for farming, fishing, etc. So obviously, the environment is very important to them.
Hugs aren't, though.
Okay.
What are the most significant environmental problems affecting the river today?
First, non-point source solution, specifically pesticides and fertilizers from farms are eroding from the fields in the watershed, creating runoff that is going into the river, causing algae blooms. Second, metal contamination and harming fish.
What do you recommend doing to monitor these issues?
To monitor agricultural runoff, I recommend using an NPK test to measure the amount of nutrients in the river. To monitor metal contamination, I would recommend collecting water samples to be analyzed for heavy metals. All this data will be used to make recommendations about what should be done to help alleviate these problems.
What is currently being done to solve these problems?
Well, the World Wildlife Federation in Pakistan are working to reduce pollution by teaching waste minimalization and raising public awareness. Thank you. Thank you.
This is Ben J. Facial. Thank you for watching our program. Good night. See you.
CP Dub.